Okay, so today our story is going to be about a guy and a gal, a doctor and a patient who had the strangest, like oddest, I don't even know if I could call it a love affair. I mean, it was on his end, but George Carl Tanzler, Tanzler, was born in 1877. Not much about his parents online, but he did have a sister. His childhood was described as unremarkable with the exception of a vision. Now he says he had a vision.
Boy, if you don't...
Everybody else said it was just a dream. It was just a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. In this dream or vision, you know, whatever you choose to believe or recognize it as, a long deceased relative visited him, revealing the face of a dark-haired girl that would be his true love. So all of his life, he pretty much grew up, you know, waiting on this girl. He had seen her, Blue, chill. He'd seen her face so vividly, and he just, you know, he was just waiting on Bay to come through. In the meantime, he grew up to be a very well-rounded individual. He was well-traveled. He worked as a boat builder at some point. He went on to be an engineer, and then he kind of, from there, went into medicine. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, in July 1909, a local cigar maker, Francisco Hayos, and his wife, Aurora, welcomed their third baby girl, which they named Elena Hoyos. They were a relatively poor family, and, you know, raising three girls. I'm pretty sure they were in desperate need of money. So around the ages of like 15 and 16, they encouraged all three of their daughters to marry. Oddly though, the girls did not have good luck with their husbands. One of their husbands died like trying to save a co-worker from a power line that had hit him, and he was electrocuted to death. The other sister, she actually died of tuberculosis, and little Elena at the age of 16 married a guy by the name of Luis Mesa, and unfortunately she was unable to bear children. So after a miscarriage, he left her and relocated to Miami. Though he never legally divorced her, he just up and left. And so she went back with her parents, and they pretty much, you know, planned to live, I guess, happily ever after until she found a new man. I don't know what the plan was, but she was back at the house with her parents. So by this time now, Carl is in his 40s. He's married to a lady named Doris Schaefer, and they've had two daughters. Even though he knew she was not the woman in his dreams, I guess he just settled. I don't know. I guess he got tired of being lonely. I don't know what the deal was, but he married little Doris, and they had two babies. In 1926, he decided he was going to travel to Cuba solo, and then eventually he migrated to the U.S., and he was in some part of Florida. I forgot where. He was there by himself for a while, and eventually he sent for his family to join him. So they came over too. And then not even a year after his family joined him, he decided, you know what, I'm about to dip on y'all again. And he relocated by himself to Key West, where he became a radiological technician at a U.S. Marine hospital. So he was getting them coins. And had just left his little family behind. That's some shit. Now, on April 22nd in 1930, while working at the Marine Hospital in Key West, Dr. Carl meets Elena, who was brought in by her mother for an examination. Back in these days, like this is when tuberculosis was just running rampant, getting everybody up out of here. Having already lost one daughter to the disease, she wanted to, you know, go get her daughter some help ASAP. So she goes to the Marine Hospital where she meets Dr. Carl. He immediately recognizes her as the beautiful dark-haired woman of his dreams, who he was just destined to be with, who his ancestors had told him he was destined to marry and spend out his days with. But that was one problem. He found that she did, in fact, have tuberculosis, and there is no cure. People are not living through it. That, however, did not sway him from his idea that this beautiful woman was the woman, and he was determined to save her. Sounds like a beautiful love story, right? Like, oh, he gonna save her. I mean, if you ignore the fact that he got a whole 2 kids and a wife somewhere, you know, it's a cute little love story. So convinced that saving Elena was his true destiny, the love-struck doctor persuaded his superiors to allow him to conduct his own experimental treatments. On Elena, he went all out. He tried natural remedies. He tried all kinds of like ritualistic remedies. He even stole expensive equipment, including like x-ray equipment from the hospital he worked at, and took him to her parents' home and, you know, just day and night relentlessly worked on getting her. At the same time, he was showering her with all kinds of expensive gifts, jewelry, clothes, perfume, and constantly declaring his undying, unwavering, unconditional love and devotion for her. But it was not reciprocated. Like, he was in love with her. He was convinced that she was it. She was that girl. But homegirl was just trying to live. It's always been reported that his love was unreciprocated. She was just trying to live. She was just being nice and trying to, you know, if you could save my life, then, hey, you can buy me gifts. I'll take your gifts. Unfortunately for all parties involved, Elena dies the very next year in October on the 25th of 1931. And Creepy Carl is heartbroken. Like, he is literally devastated. He convinces the family to allow him to cover all expenses of like her funeral, which of course they obliged because they didn't really have much money themselves. So it's kind of like, if you want to bury my daughter in the finest, it's cool. He hired his own like private mortician, which was supposed to be a really good mortician, really good at like embalming and preserving bodies. So he had that done, and he also purchased a very, very expensive stone mausoleum for her to go into, you know, to be her final resting place. The only thing that he asked for in return was for locks of her hair, like a significant little amount of her hair. Granted, everybody thought this was kind of creepy, but I mean, they knew he was creepy because when he started buying all them gifts and talking about, you know, she was the woman in his dreams, they thought he was weird. He always came off harmless, so nobody really thought, you know, there was anything to fear. So the family obliges. They give him her hair, and she's buried in this mausoleum, and everybody expects, you know, the strangeness of Creepy Carl to just go away, to be a thing of the past. But unfortunately, it just got worse. Unbeknownst to everyone except Creepy Carl, he kept a key to the mausoleum, and he would visit her every night for 2 years. Now, there were rumors and speculation, like people around town started to notice that he would go to her gravesite like literally every night and serenade her corpse with these Spanish love songs. And so people around town were talking about it and, you know, saying he was a creep, which he was. That's creepy. I mean, but maybe it's cute though. I don't know. It depends on what you want. Like, would you want your man to show up to your gravesite and sing to your body after death? Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure some people do that, right? Like, people go to gravesites and talk to them. So singing kind of ain't that bad. It's not really that strange. My eyebrows do not match. Jesus be some symmetry. Eventually, all the rumors that were circulating about him visiting her body every night at the mausoleum and like what he was doing inside the mausoleum got him fired from the hospital. The hospital no longer wanted anything to do with him. After he got fired from the hospital, he went to visit Elena, and this time he planned on leaving with her. He removed her body from the mausoleum, put her in a red wagon, like the little kid ones, and drug her home. I don't know how nobody saw this. I mean, it was in the middle of the night, but I don't know if it was a small town or what. Nonetheless, he threw her in there, drug her home. From there, he began taking extraordinary measures to preserve her body and make her corpse like as lifelike as he possibly could. He wired all of her joints of her skeleton to like keep them from, I guess, keep the cartilage between them from like deteriorating, to keep her structure together. He removed her eyeballs and inserted glass ones. Yeesh. He coated fabric in plaster and wax and used that to replace her decaying skin. He also filled the cavities of her body with rags to, you know, keep the integrity of her body and stop it from caving in. And when her scalp began to deteriorate, he used that hair that he got from her family and made her a wig. Really blue. He applied disinfectants, formaldehyde, and perfumes to her daily to make her smell pretty and, you know, mask the scent of decaying, rotting flesh. Blue. He dressed her in really, really nice clothes. Jewelry, he had gloves on her hands. Like, he really knew how to treat a woman pre and post-mortem. So for the next 7 years, he continued to care for, maintain, and live with Helena's body in his home. So once people started to notice that they were no longer seeing him at her grave sites and had begun seeing him like around town shopping for women's clothing, but they never saw him with the woman, just buying the clothes, buying the perfume, buying the jewelry. I mean, he wasn't wearing it. They got a little suspicious. I mean, they were not sure if he was wearing this stuff like at home in the comfort of his own home or what. So one of the local young boys went to peep into his window, and I guess expecting him to be standing there getting his Caitlyn Jenner on, he was shocked to find him dancing with what appeared to be a giant doll, is what he described it as. I mean, I don't think he, you know, would have thought that he was dancing with Helena's good old body. Word of this gets back to the family of Helena, and they become suspicious. Her sister demands that he meets her at the mausoleum, and he obliges. But when she demands that he open the mausoleum up, he refuses. Instead, he tells her to meet him at his house the next day because he had something that he wanted to show her. I don't know why he would invite her, you know, to the house. Did he think that there's something she would want to see? Did he think that she, you know, would not have an issue with it? I don't know what he was thinking or why he invited homegirl to his house. But nevertheless, he does, and he goes home, and he prepares Elena to be displayed to her sister. The sister arrives and, of course, is horrified at the sight of her sister. And she immediately leaves and alerts authorities who come to his home, sees the body, and arrests him for gravesite desecration, right? Creepy Carl remains unapologetic throughout his entire trial, just pretty much declaring his undying love and admiration for Elena. Because the statute of limitations had, like, they reached the statute of limitations of the crime that he was charged with, which was, I guess, robbing, you know, desecration of a gravesite. He had done it like, he had the body like 7 years. So they were at the statute of limitations, and homeboy was set free. Crazy, right? And strangely, a lot of people like around town had a lot of compassion for Carl. Like, they just viewed him as this hopeless romantic, and they really were not like outraged or disgusted by what he had done to Elena. Like, only her family. But when they seized the body, like when they got the body, they didn't immediately bury her. They took her to a museum and charged $1 for people to come through and view like her body and what he had done to her, and made money off of it. Like, who does that? After the hype began to die down and they made the money that they wanted to make off of poor Elena, the family had her buried in a unmarked grave, or at least this is how the story goes. So they say they had her buried in an unmarked grave because they didn't want Carl to go digging her up and doing his thing again. And as for Creepy Carl, he went on to live out his days alone. Well, sort of. In 1952, at the tender age of 75, he passed away in his home. His body was found roughly 3 weeks after he had died in the arms of a life-sized Elena Hoyos effigy. Now, reportedly, if that ain't bad enough, the face of the effigy was like her actual face from her body, but the rest of her was just, you know, made up, but he'd actually gotten the face. There are conspiracies out there that the family actually gave him her face or gave him her body and lied about having her buried in a secret location because they had really, you know, given her to him. But we don't know. That's just what, you know, that's just what the speculation is. Nevertheless, even if she was made out of clay, to find his body on the floor in the arms of another, like, replica he built of her is just weird. Creepy AF. You know, I want a man to love me real hard, but not like that. I don't know about that. No, don't send me to my eternal resting place. And don't come pick me up from my eternal resting place, okay? I wonder whatever happened to his wife and children. Pretty sure they want nothing to do with Creepy Carl's tale. Alright, so that is it for this video. If you enjoyed the content, please give it a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe if you have not. Share this video with a friend. Don't forget to follow me on social media. I mean, I'm not on everything. I'm just, you know, I'm kind of on Twitter, and I'm very active on Snapchat. So, add me. The information is below. The products used in this video will be listed in the description box, and I will see you in the next one.